1, 2, 3, 4.
And welcome back to another episode.
No, for real though. Welcome back, folks. It's good to see everybody. We took a little midweek mayhap there, and now we're back, rocking, rolling, strolling, crolling, rolling. What are we talking about today, buddy? We got it on the map. Anything good for these folks?
Yes, actually we do. Are you guys ready? All right, great. So today we're talking about random acts of kindness.
Ooh.
And I'm sure you could probably tell what that entails. In the sense of, like, giving back to the homeless. Or I shouldn't say giving back to the homeless, giving to the homeless. Helping old people cross the street. Giving little Timmy an ice cream. I don't know. Something like that.
Paying for someone's groceries in front of you that's struggling or something like that. Picking up any person's thing that they drop on the floor when you're out in public. Heck, if it's random, I mean, you could even just be holding the door for someone going into the barbershop. But I guess the big ones that we get to see all the time are on social media. So I know for me, that's the classic that Ian started with, giving back to the homeless, or maybe not even giving back, but just helping them in general with food, shelter, clothing, stuff like that. And I think the other ones I see a lot are, it's not so much a random act of kindness, but the one dude doing his due diligence to make sure people put their carts back. The cart narc, another good
Oh,
guy.
yeah.
But to speak on what you said first about, helping out the homeless and stuff like that, that's like by far the biggest one I see on Facebook. And it's usually the classic culprit of people I see that are giving back. The guys with the GoPros on their chest. They'll go into restaurants and buy stuff, or they'll go into like retailers such as Walmart, Target, things like that, and they'll just buy a bunch of random stuff, underwear, clothes, socks, you name it. They're going to grab it, and usually they're going into like a homeless shelter, or they're catching people hanging outside Walmarts or like White Castles and stuff like that. And it's usually just the craziest things because whenever I see the video, I never know where they're at initially. So you're just assuming that, this is just some random dude out in some random spot finding, homeless all over the country. But I don't know. I never look into it. But do you see it like that too? For me, I browse Facebook and I think TikTok a lot, and that's where I see it. Is it the same for you?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think anyone could probably say they've seen at least, like, a handful of those videos before. They
Word.
pop up on pretty much everyone's For You page, I'm sure, on TikTok, and then Facebook is just littered with them. I feel like I only ever really see them on Facebook, and then I get a couple on TikTok. But I like what they're doing. I think what they're doing is good. From a moral standpoint, it's like, yeah, sometimes people just need a little helping hand, and sometimes people don't like to ask for help either.
Right.
Especially when they're in a position where they want to either do it for themselves, so they're willing to go through a struggle for it, or they don't have anyone to really ask. So in those situations, it's like, yeah, like I do agree with a lot of giving back to your community, giving back to help others that you see that may need help, or just in any case and point. But I don't like the idea of videotaping yourself.
Let it out.
Yeah. Videotaping yourself while doing it. I find that to be just, I don't know, it defeats the purpose to me for what you're actually doing. You shouldn't get anything. The whole purpose of, like, giving to someone or helping someone out is not necessarily, or random acts of kindness in this instance, is not looking for anything in return, so to say. Like you're not supposed to expect anything in return because it's merely just an act of kindness. You know, this is something that I
Right,
want
yeah.
to do. And sure, like people are, you know, you're allowed to like take something from another person if they're offering it for your help. Nothing wrong with that, but in the sense of like videotaping, like, oh, I'm gonna get so many likes with this. Oh, I'm gonna blow up on the internet. No, I think it defeats the whole purpose of a random act of kindness
Well, I
because
think
you shouldn't.
to interject and completely agree with you at this point, those people on Facebook are only able to feed those things, feed things, and I should say give them things as well. The only reason they're able to do that is because their followers are the people that are donating them money to pay for the food, to pay for the clothing, to pay for the materials and stuff like that. So I think for those people that exist getting paid to do that, they aren't doing it randomly anymore. So I would have to agree that yes, those people that are doing it just for the likes and trying to receive some type of reaction out of people on social media, like that's no good. I agree with you tenfold. But for the other side of people that are, they're no longer going out of their way to do this. They're actually basically doing it as a day job as far as getting money from people who watch their videos and then bringing it to people in need. So I guess at that point we step away from the randomness, and now we know, you know, what's going on. Like there's, you know, that big guy Josh is on Facebook. There's another guy, I think he's British or something like that that does it as well. And then there's this other person that I see a lot. I can't remember their name, but they do the same thing, just, you know, completely different places, and then also giving completely different things. Like, you know, the one guy's big time camping gear and you know, clothing and, you know, shelter articles and stuff like that. And then the other guy is just strictly food and lots of it, lots of homeless people. And then the other guy's like kind of a mix, but randomizes. You know, he'll just like bless people. He'll be like, "Hey, I bought you this bike and I got you this whole hotel room for 2 weeks, and then this, that, and the other." And then he'll go up to another person a day later, and then they'll buy them a car and like a used phone or something like that. And you know, it usually changes, but the same thing is happening where now those people aren't doing it randomly. Those people are getting paid to do it. Um, and when I say paid, you know, that's a wrong way to put it because good for them for helping those people. You know, I'm glad someone could go out there, and if they're going to get donations to do it, then by all means, you know, take from that to, you know, make it by the day and eating, you know, lunch, dinner wise, and then also being able to, you know, feed your family, pay your bills. Like that, I completely agree with, and I'm on board with. But I'm right back in your corner as far as those people who are doing it for all the wrong reasons. You know, that's kind of scummy. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, scummy without a doubt. But I think you do make a good point because at least for the people that are taking donations from either followers or whatever money they make off of like views for whatever reason, and putting that back into the world, so to say, and helping these people out. I guess that kind of levels the playing field on that instance. It's like I still don't enjoy the thought of like, oh, I'm gonna videotape all of this, and then post it
Yeah.
on the internet and such. But they're at least using it for a good stance in the sense of I'm not taking all this money and keeping it for myself. I am like trying to help people out and like take this stuff to homeless shelters or helping someone in need that they see or that, you know, whatever it might be. So I guess in that instance, it's like, okay, you know, I appreciate at least you helping. But again, I still am not a fan of like the social media thing. I don't know. This is a quick sidebar. I just think like social media in general has become just look at what I'm doing, look at how cool I'm doing it, you know, type deal. And that kind of it doesn't encapsulate this, but it's kind of like, look at what I'm doing. I'm a good person. Like I swear, kind of ordeal.
Yeah, no, I agree to that to a point because in some cases it's just like um, most of the people are doing it to seek approval or just have the attention, which I get. You know, there's a lot of you know, psychological reasoning behind what people do for this, that, and the other. And you know, I usually, in my own shoes, stay away from posting things of like uh, pictures constantly of myself and that nature. But every now and again, it'll be, me and the wife, or it'll be me doing something crazy out in nature, or maybe it's just a random sunset or something like that. And it's just whenever I feel like it type thing, like, oh, I gotta share this with the people type thing. I'm never in the back of my mind thinking I should do this just to, see if I can be the next to 100 likes on this post. My last one only got 78, so let's see if I can beat it. I used to be like that a little bit, but now I've gotten to the point where it's just like I'll usually only ever post things that on my personal accounts that I just feel like posting that I would want other people to see. And then when it comes down to like my business accounts and stuff like that, usually I'm posting the obviously farm engagement and try to bring people to my storefront or see exactly what I'm talking about, things like that. And being able to differentiate between what you're doing and like your target audience and your purpose is big time on social media. So that I'll say, yeah. And for the sake of those people who like, to farm the engagement and, feed off of it for their own affirmations and stuff like that. It's just like, I get it. But sometimes seeking approval from the internet also can lead to bad habits later in life. That's for sure. So, I obviously don't want to continue the sidebar as the main conversation or anything, but I absolutely feel you there, buddy. It's just one of those things.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to finish the thought right there. And I do agree with you. I think it's good in the sense where it's like, okay, for a business aspect, sure, absolutely. And I think that's kind of like what I wasn't really targeting. So, because I do agree with you. Yeah, I have no issue with like the business aspect to anything. If you're taking it to the business aspect and doing this stuff, then it's really not kindness anymore. It's kind of like well thought out. And like, I don't know, it defeats the purpose of actually doing the intended act and having meaning and purpose behind it just because you did want to do something without anything in return for it. It's the whole point of like the idea that we're discussing here. All right, we'll move past that thought. Coming back to, I guess, I don't know. What can we come back to here?
Well, it felt like you brought it back right there. Like instead of, I thought you were closing off your thought about the idea of social media. And
I was. Did I kind of bring it back?
Yeah, I thought you were
Okay.
bringing it like to close social media, and then you were going to bring it back to our thought about people trying to do random acts of kindness. But yes, regardless of what we're bringing it all the way full circle back. We've backed it to the full backing of whatever circle that exists for the randomness of kindness acting. And I think that if you're on social media and you're getting paid to do it, that's purposeful. That's not random. So if you're going to do random acts of kindness that involve the homeless, I think rule number one, you probably shouldn't be recording, because in this case, you're just doing it randomly and you're doing it for the sake of a good deed. Randomness, that's the point. And then the kindness part, just the kindness of your own heart, your warm body soul. And then also the idea of if the homeless are going to be involved. I don't have many homeless around me that I get to see very often. It's pretty rare. Usually I see them every now and again with like a shopping cart full of like random objects. Otherwise it's I catch them on the side of the road, like hunkering down for the night in like under some stairway or something like that. And it seems like they have everything they need. I swear one time I thought I saw a guy with like a little box television. I'm just like, this dude's living.
Dude.
But it's I swear, like I said, it's every now and again. I wish I could tell you that there was like some shelter down the road where I'm just seeing dozens of homeless all the time. But it's not all that often that I'm seeing the homeless doing their thing. Maybe they're just good at playing hide and seek. I have no idea.
Well, I mean, they've been out on the street. They understand like where they're welcomed, where they're not.
Great point.
Or even just spots where they're not bothered. They learn that very quickly, I would assume. Being either out on the street or within a homeless shelter, or not having a spot at the homeless shelter, they know where to go, kind of thing. Because that kind of reminds me of when I was in Boston visiting Josh. We had him on the podcast.
And he was talking about, yep, I remember.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the man below his apartment window. I think the episode was called "The Rats Will Rise" or something like that. Not to poke fun at the man, but he was sleeping with, for those who didn't listen, he was like sleeping with like 8 rats. And it's difficult. It's obviously not a good situation to be in. I don't think anyone wants to be sleeping with rats.
No, unless they're pets. Different story.
Yeah, no, who knows? I mean, like he could be chill with them,
Friends,
you never know. Yeah, hey, listen, if I had to sleep outside, I would definitely befriend the rats, especially in Boston, dude. Dude,
Boston rat.
Yeah,
The Boston rats know people, dude.
Exactly, dude. They'd be like, "Hey, I'm walking here," But no, I mean, like they could go snag me like little tidbits of food or something if I train them right. They could fight for me. They can like climb on one another and like create like a humanoid figure and beat the crap out of someone. Who knows?
Rat haven for the homeless, and that's I think the point Ian was getting to. He wanted to talk about how well trained these rats were, right?
No, but on a more serious note, I don't really see homeless people on the daily out here on Nantucket. I think if there's any homeless, it's probably like 1 or 2 people, if I was told correctly. Thought I heard something about it, but even at that, it's like there's not very much at all around me. It's just, it's mainly just people working to survive kind of thing. And it's kind of it's like a rich island, so it's like, what is there, to really do in that sense. But I don't know. It's not hard to just be real instead of having to or wanting to post stuff online about your everyday life. I mean, I think you can just make these choices without having other people have to see it. I find it a little pointless. Like, Zach was saying before about like how he posts online and such, and I do the same. I'm very, very sparingly, or I'm very sparse on any social media, whether it's like with stuff that I'm doing. Like sure, like Facebook I'll update like jobs, or like maybe I'll update my like profile picture and my background or something every now and again. But I mean, I'm mainly posting about the podcast, maybe reposting a funny video that I thought most of the people that are following me would like. That's kind of it. Snapchat I don't really use like for stories too much anymore, unless it's like, oh yeah, this is a cool photo. I think people would kind of just enjoy it. Kind of just use like the platforms to talk to other people that maybe I don't have their number, or it's kind of just like if I don't have their number, or if it's easier for them to talk on that platform rather than text. It's kind of all I'm doing. But it's like I don't feel the need to have to share every minute of my life with the world or with my friends and such. It's like for those that do care, they keep in touch with me, and for those that don't, it's, or I shouldn't say don't, for those that just like aren't as close as we were, that's fine. Like, I still want you to see like what's going on, so like I'll post every like 3 years kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, like that's where, social media, comes into those moments where things get less random if you're doing them as an act of kindness. You're not going out of your way on social media anymore to try and reach out to people to do random acts of kindness. Now that would be interesting if you use social media to do, random things. Reached out to someone, said, hey, I want to donate you $100. I have no idea who you are, but I'm doing this random thing for you. And you didn't tell anybody. And the only people that knew were you, because you sent the message, and the other person who's receiving the $100. Then that would be something that social media would come out on top for as a random act of kindness. But in the case of being able to do it for the homeless, not videotaping, big time blessings. Thank you for doing your random acts. I hope everyone that does already do this, stay blessed, keep doing it, because that's incredible of you. I, every now and again, will get random chances to donate like a buck or two to the people that are walking by. The last time, no, I'm not even going to say it because I don't want to. No, I don't want to put people on. I'm not even going to say it because then I'll feel like I'm just seeking someone's attention. But, but for real, it's more about doing just those things because one, you can, and two, just to be a nice person. Like you're not validating your own self-worth in your head. You're just doing that thing for, and everyone's reason might be different. You know, it might be just I'm doing this because I can. I'm doing this because I feel like being nice today. I'm doing this because I have a couple extra dollars. I'm doing this because this is the change I got back from Burger King and I'm not really doing it at all. It's just I wouldn't do anything with this change otherwise. I'm doing this because right place, right time, and so many other things that I feel like you could chalk it up to self-validate as to why you're doing a random act of kindness. But I think that's the really nice thing about the randomness of it, is that there doesn't ever have to be a real reason to do something like that. And in this case, it's a kind act. I guess, you know, there are people that are going to be like, all right, well, what about random acts of evil? You know, throwing toilet paper over people's trees during Halloween or egging someone's house. Or a classic one that happened to me and my buddy was a passerby in a car throwing a milkshake on your windshield. Like, who the hell? But to each their own, I guess. These random acts exist for whatever they might be. And of course, today, hopefully it inspires a little bit of you to do a random act of kindness and hopefully not evil, or random act of violence or something. But who knows?
Now, you know what?
Everyone's going to do something.
You know what? I'm going to start some random acts of evil. I'm going to throw a chair through a window.
Attaboy.
I'm gonna crap in a bag, light it on fire, put it on someone's doorstep.
Classic joke. That's a good one.
I'm going to throw rocks through your window.
Your car won't survive the night, baby.
I'm gonna take your tires. Just put them up on cinder. I'm gonna put your car up on cinder blocks and take your wheels.
I still haven't seen that in real life, and to see it like jokingly in movies and stuff like that, I'm waiting for the moment because I know it's real life. You know, I've heard about it.
Dude, it is.
I lived in those places. It's not.
I didn't see it firsthand, like in the matter of like someone doing it, but
Yeah.
I've definitely seen like the aftermath of it, and it's like it is real. Like it was a parked car on the street, and it was up on cinder blocks, and it's like, okay, well, no one's around it working on it. There's no tires to be seen. Like they're all gone.
Exactly.
So it's like I don't know. Either way, I'm starting some random acts of evil. I've been kind for too long.
Yeah,
I have
feel
to
like you
end it
kind of
now.
have to because but not seriously have to. But that's only because nobody's purposely going out of their way, unless they're an evil person, to do random acts of evil. But I think that's the funniness in it, because it's just kind of like, all right, well, here's, you know, my next big thing, and it's like, all right, I'm just going to do that and let it be as it is. Otherwise, you know, you wouldn't do it. You know, not a lot of people are going out of their way to like do random things. Most of the time, and I, you know, will admit that I do it myself, are just going through the motions sometimes. You know, you wake up, you make your coffee, you put on your shoes, you put on your clothes, you brush your teeth, whatever. Not in that order, obviously. But you leave for
What
work.
do you mean?
Go to, go to work, have your lunch, finish work, come back from work, and then, you know, do your thing, get ready for dinner, take a shower, you know, get ready for bed, watch a show, you know, and go to sleep. And there's not really much time, you know, in those moments where people are doing other things besides scrolling on social media or, you know, taking a chill pill or, you know, hanging out, maybe having a cigarette, whatever that looks like, you know, throughout the day for chill time. But there's just those random opportunities that life, you know, gets to sneak in there. And, you know, there's those moments where Ian and I already talked about with people helping the homeless and stuff like that. Or the other random act of kindness, you know, you'll get to help someone cross the street, you know, like if you're, for example, out riding your scooter or ripping a bike, you know, down the lane or whatever. And those things will just pop up because they will. You know, there's never any time of day where it's just like, oh, Mother Susan's crossing the road. It's 2:15 p.m. You better get down there and hit that button for her. You know that. I mean, I'm sure
That's
people
it. Floor it.
if you're scheduling stuff like that into your life, then you know, like, good for you. But you're not doing it randomly anymore. Now you fell into a schedule. So I think that's, you know, the whole point. But there grandma was being able to get hit by a car. Where I think that you have to be able to step back and notice that your randomness goes a long way when you are just doing it randomly.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the whole point of random acts of kindness.
Oh, wow. You thought
They're-
so?
They're random.
But I'm just more so trying to prove this point to talk about what you were saying with the, you know, the social media vibe. You know, you not being able to appreciate a person who, you know, goes out of their way for the likes. And, you know, there's only a certain appreciation, you know, because it only goes so far to be like, okay, they're doing something right, but at what cost? You know, so
Yeah.
I was just more so trying to come back to your point about people being random with it and going out of their way just to go out of their way instead of going out of their way to get likes or seek validation or have other people tell them that they're doing a good job, you know?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I mean, people can choose whatever they want to do. And like I said, like if they use like viewers, like donations to help out people, then cool, that's great. And I think that's a great idea. And, you know, because at least you know and can see that the money's going somewhere for a good cause, no matter what it is. And at that point, it's like, okay, great. But don't label it as like a random act of kindness, because then it defeats the purpose of the actual random act. But enough beating that dead horse. What I'm getting at is, you know, people are willing and able to do whatever they want to do and post whatever they want to post. And I have no problem with that. It's just like, it just feels like videos like that are always shoving that thought down my throat, because I don't know. It's just like, yeah, like these things are great, but they're meant to be like shared between the person.
No, that's
and
fair. All right, well, let me ask you a question, you know, because I know
Yeah.
a couple times it feels like a circle, but other times it's like I feel like we're cracking through to a different side of that argument. When you first see those videos, like when you're scrolling and you see, you know, for example, like if someone comes up and they have that chest cam over top of a person who's obviously homeless, like is the first thing you think, oh, I'm scrolling by, like, you know, I see these all the time, or is it kind of like you start to feel, you know, some type of sadness, or, you know, you feel bad for that person on the other side of the camera? Like what overcomes you first when you see those videos?
I think it's a little bit of both. It's kind of like, oh, like I've either seen this one before, or it's like, okay, it's just another, like, you know, act of kindness video type deal. And it's like, you know, of course, if you have a heart, then most people will think like, oh, you know, there's some, what's the word? I can't think of the word right now. You feel some type of way with like a video like that, and it's just kind of like for any people out there that remember like the ASPCA commercials.
Oh, with the Arms of the Angel song,
Yeah, of course. Like, you know, if you have a heart, you're gonna feel some type of way with it. You're gonna be upset about what's going on, because most, you know, I'll say most human beings have an inherent
Right.
value within themselves to help others, no matter what, and in whatever way they can and are capable of doing it. So even if it means in the sense of like, here's a couple of bucks, you know, like here's some shirts, some old shirts that I got, hopefully these will help you out, kind of thing, you know, whatever. Most would want to help, or most feel bad for the person in the sense of what they've experienced.
Yeah.
So that's what always pulls you in, is that feeling of like, I wish I could do something. And that's why they rack views, and it's like they're using our feelings against us, Zach.
Yeah, but do you think that more people will get overwhelmed to do those random acts of kindness, or do you think more people will get overwhelmed to just feel like there's enough people already doing it? That's when I really start to wonder when I see those videos, if that the people that are posting them, and the more I see them, are because they've been influenced by other people to continue doing it, and that's why we see more people in the space, or do we see it and then we're a part of that same group of people who are just like, oh, okay, well, there's people doing this, yes, I feel bad for them, but oh, I'm so glad someone's helping. Like, where do you start pursuing, like, because now I'm bringing it up to you. I don't know if this is something you've thought about, but in talking about this, like, it makes me think about what other people feel. And then I wonder about, of course, between you and I, like we're talking about it now, but if I talked about this with someone else who never sees these videos, like, what would they think if we showed them one? I want to know what they're thinking, but of course, you first. What do you got?
All right, I'll give you my thought process, and then I'll give you my opinion on the matter of it. Like an actual answer to your question. I think it's kind of like most people would probably think either direction. So what was it? It was like they think that there's already enough people out there helping, or it would push them to help themselves, right?
Yeah.
Or help, like, to go out and help other people
Yes,
themselves.
For them to do it themselves, right? Yep.
Yeah, I think it's a split road. I think it could be a split road. It could be like more like 75%, so on and so forth. 75% more, or I guess say 75% on like the, I think there's already enough people out there helping people kind of thing.
So
I
it
think
favors
it's
that side, you're saying. Gotcha.
I would say more that side, just because of the nature of, I mean, at least within the United States right now, with everything going on. Not getting into it, I'm just saying, like, economics right now for most people it's like, I need to work, I need to save money kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think within that viewpoint of how everything's going on here in the country, as well as coming back to that, most people are going to assume that it's like, okay, there's already enough people out there helping. I'll do what I can if I'm ever given the opportunity myself. But in most cases, they're going to be like probably a little hesitant to just go up and, go out and go and do it. So, and then, for those that do decide to go out and go do it, I would say there's most definitely probably less of those people actually getting up and doing it. Now, of course, in our experiences, not to blow our own whistle here, because that is the whole purpose of this discussion.
Right.
We do our own random acts. I'm sure everyone has either done something of the sort within their life and have gotten no recognition for it, which is the whole purpose. But, we do our own when we can and when we feel like we should. So even at that point, it's like we are still helping in the manner that we can. It's like, oh, do you want to donate, do you want to round up $1 to help out, like the Taco Bell does it, like
that stuff. Yeah, that's all that's a write-off scheme. That's all that is. But they do donate that money. They do donate it. Of course they do. But that's because they get a very sizable write-off if they do.
Right. So,
but that's a totally different discussion. That's different.
Right. Yeah. No. It sprang into my head and I thought about it. It's like that is completely different. I wanted to throw that in there. Don't think that's a random act of kindness.
100% makes sense. Yeah.
But my honest opinion, when you're asking me that question in the sense of like, where would I sit? More than likely I'd be within the 75%. Like, I think there's enough people out there helping, and it's like, I don't necessarily think there's a lot of people out there helping, just in the sense of we have these guys on social media that, can pretty much, I wouldn't say like, well, no. Obviously there's like thousands of people or millions of people that have seen that clip.
Right.
And that's just one person. And sure, like, a lot of these videos litter Facebook and TikTok, but a lot of the times it's like the same people. It's like the same 3 guys or the same 3 individuals. So it's not necessarily that there's a lot of people already out doing it, or that's like the thought that pops into my mind. It's just that I need as much money as I can possibly get right now for myself. And it's like when I feel as though I have money to share, or if I feel as though I want to help someone out, of course, like I would. But I can't just go and say like, oh, I'm going to buy your groceries for this week. No, I can't do that.
No, right.
Financially, I can't do that right now. And it's like, do I wish I could? Sure. Like, I wish I would be able to help someone out that could use it.
Right.
But it's not in the cards for me currently to be able to do something like that. And this is getting off of topic of kind of like where we're taking this.
No, but it's like where you're sitting. Like that makes sense because you kind of bring about a new track that I was going to go down like once we like kind of finished this side. But I think you're probably right on with that percentage, like 75% sit on the side of, oh, there's enough people that do it, I'm good. And I think I would have to say that a good majority of that percentage are probably the people who end up donating, because they don't feel like doing it themselves. That same part of that percentage is probably the people who are giving money, which I'm sure, you'd probably land on too. And then the other 25%, are the people who are now going down the direction that I'm thinking about, doing it themselves. And the whole direction that I'm talking about is, what would you consider an act of kindness? Like for you, what is the threshold, like the minimum threshold? And then of course, now we're looking at, we'll just say a maximum is, paying someone's rent. And that's something that we see a lot, of those people who are giving stuff away. Sometimes it's not even to the homeless. Sometimes it's just to some, oftentimes deserving family. Sometimes, we'll just say not deserving, but that's not up for me to judge. Obviously, I'm not going to sit here and be like, you know what, that person didn't deserve fucking rent. Come pay my rent. Like that's very selfish. And, I could never think so close-minded like that. But I think it goes, without saying that there have been people that, will go on social media and play the hate card and do that. Again, another discussion for another day. But in this specific case, if we're talking about acts of kindness, for me, like I'm wondering in my head if the classic mannerisms of holding your door open for somebody, picking up an elderly person's groceries, helping, a single mom, with her kids, like if they're in the car somewhere and like they drop something or whatever, or their stroller's rolling away or something like that in a park, or even other things, like if someone forgot to close like their trunk as they're driving away, and you stop them and you close it for them. All those things to me, might just be like exempt mannerisms, things that just happen because it's like, oh my gosh, like if this happened to me, I would do it too. And I wonder, at what point do those things get slightly bigger and become that part of a random act of kindness? So where do you sit when, you have that 25% of people who are going out, exercising their act of kindness? To what point does that become random and cross that threshold for you?
See, like in most instances, like a lot of the stuff that you just like said, I think of those as just being a good person rather than just a random act of kindness. I think it more encapsulates the idea of just having a good moral compass, or just understanding people as a whole, instead of like grouping it into this idea of like, oh, I'm going to do a random act of kindness today. It's just like, I'm going to be a good person today. If I see something, or I'm asked something, it could be anything. It's like, just take it in the best form you possibly can. And so like, I'll just give an example. A lot of the times, like if I go, like I've been to barber shops before where I'm waiting next to like, some older guys that waiting to get their haircuts and whatnot. And a lot of the times they'll like spark up a conversation. And, me being me, it's like I love talking to people, but I'm also like kind of an awkward individual.
Right. No,
so
I feel you, dude.
Yeah. So it's like, of course I'm going to talk to them. Like I'll talk to them, and, we'll shoot the shit about pretty much anything they want to discuss. Like, they'll usually ask me like, what I do kind of thing, whether like at the time I think I was in college or something like that. and I'll chat with them and I'll tell them, like they'll ask me some questions about like things around. Like I think we were talking about like the wind turbines and such over in Western New York. Very nice individual. I had a great conversation with him, and I wish I could remember his name, but I honestly don't remember if he even told me. So sometimes, but like where I'm getting at is like sometimes some older individuals just want someone to talk to. And like you could view that as like a random act of kindness, but in reality it's just being a good person and understanding the people around you. Or at least understanding how to live within a society. You're going to live around other people. You're bound to meet different individuals all the time, every day.
No doubt. No doubt.
So it's like, why not just treat them with the kindness and respect that they deserve? And in some instances it's tough because some people don't give it back, or they just come at you right at the start. Of course, like you leave those individuals where they need to be, like you don't think about it. But just solely being a good person is all you really need to be. And I know it's hard sometimes because we all have our bad days, of course. Like we don't want to talk to anyone sometimes, or it's like, last night the wife, she was yelling at me. No, I mean, like, things happen.
Absolutely.
But the point I'm making is that I don't necessarily think like the things that I do are like random acts of kindness. Like if I drop a little extra change, like spare change that I had, or I let someone cut in front of me for the line or whatever it might be. It could be literally anything.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think of it as that. I just kind of think like, I'm gonna help them out. They seem like a nice person, or they seem like a good person, and they just need a little help, or they asked me nicely if they could do whatever, and it's like, yeah, sure. Like you gave me the respect and the kindness and asked. It's always that. Like the answer's always no unless you ask kind of ordeal. It's like, yeah, like I'll give it a thought. And I'll decide right there on the spot kind of thing.
Sure.
And I don't know, maybe I'm rambling now, but I think you understand where I've kind of gone with this. It's like I don't necessarily hold the idea of a random act of kindness. It's more or less just wrapping up the point here is just being a morally just and good person.
Yeah,
just
being a good
respecting.
person. Right.
Yeah, respecting the people that you are surrounded by, whether that's your friends or random people. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, because if you're holding respect for other people, then you're ultimately respecting yourself. So
Right.
Yes, I guess I would have to agree that the random act of kindness is usually stemming from the generality of being a good person in the first place. Because if you are a good person and you can exist as a good person, you can do random acts of kindness. And then I suppose in that case that they're not so random anymore, because it becomes more normal that you're doing these things out of the possibility that, well, anything. Sometimes I'm thinking that, in a more selfish form, that if I put good into the world, good will come back to me. And I'm, sure that in plenty of other cases I wouldn't have called that selfish, but sometimes it leads me to think it could be. And then obviously in other such circumstances, just being a good person, comes at no cost. That's just you putting your best self out there into the world with your best foot forward, and then, whatever that looks. So, I mean,
Yeah.
for us, when we're trying to do that continuously, our acts of kindness aren't random anymore. Not that they're pre-thought and, premeditated or anything. They just kind of exist because that's how we were raised. Our mannerisms extended into more things that just made sense. Like in your case, when you said letting someone cut in front of you, because they had less groceries, or maybe they were in a rush or something like that. Those things are just, I think, mannerisms that exist, because you have a respect for other people that are also humans doing other humanly things. And, I think they also extend into the other bigger things. Like, for example, driving out on the road and stuff like that. There are much more expensive things at stake here, than just, a few groceries or maybe a pair of shoes that someone actually stepped on. In this case, you're driving around vehicles, that are worth tens of thousands of dollars. And, instead of making a mess of the road and causing some road rage, you let people merge in front of you, or, you stop early at a red light, or you don't cut people off on the highway, and stuff like that. Obviously it continues to stem from there, but I think being able to do it in one thing will help lead to do it in other things in your life. So I guess for me, like, I'm not about to pinpoint random act of kindness to people that are normally doing, random acts of evil, to bring that back down.
The
But
random
I'm
acts
also
of evil.
not, I'm also not excluding people who are generally good from not being able to do random acts of kindness because they already are, or how they would be classified. So I guess in this case, it's like randomness is just that, and it comes randomly. Randomness comes randomly, and that sounds really dumb in my head. But I think if it exists as a random thing, whatever that act might be, it's just you doing unto the world. That just makes sense. Like, I'm not going to go outside and, piss on a homeless guy because he's sleeping under our stairs. Like, that would be ruthless. That's awful.
That's
But
a
I'm also,
random act of
also
evil,
feeling. What'd you say?
dude. I said that's a random act of evil, dude.
Random act of evil, exactly. And on the flip side, the better side, there's also most days where it's like, if that homeless person was under my stairs, that I'm parking my car, getting out, and giving him a cup of soup. It's not like that's something that falls into a routine. And I think if I did start doing that, then it'd be like, wow, this guy really is good. And that's when we fall right back into our, talk about people starting to do it on purpose, and like clockwork, and it's no longer random. But yeah, I do really like Ian's point about, being a good person in general, because obviously your acts of kindness, are felt more than just you doing them. Those people that get those acts of kindness done onto them, you hope that one day they can pay it forward, because that's like
Yeah.
the ultimate satisfaction. Not knowing whether or not they ever will, but having, faith within yourself, thinking that there is good within others once you put the good out there.
Yeah, it's like you don't need to be a patron saint. It's
By
not.
no
It's
means.
not like, not everyone is perfect by any means.
For
It's
sure.
not like you have to go out there and, like I was saying before, like, everyone has their bad days. You don't need to be a good person every single day in the sense of, like, putting on a smile and being the brightest person in the room. It doesn't
Everybody's human,
happen.
for sure. Right.
Yeah. It's like, just live your life in the sense of keeping the respect for yourself, one, but the respect for others around you. It's a large planet, but it's also a small one, and so, understand where you're at, understand the people around you, and just respect other people's wishes as well. Whether they're nasty, nice, mellow, awkward, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who they are. Just give them the respect that they deserve, even if they are absolute D-bags. Just let them do what they need to do at that point. But it's just like, just be a good person, and don't expect anything in return other than the hope that they will pay it forward as well, or at least will think about it and will hopefully continue to do the same as you, down the line. Maybe live that same kind of mentality. That's all you can really hope for, and that's all anyone, I think, hopes for, is to live in a nicer world with better people.
It's true, man. Well said. Because seriously,
Thank you.
though, all you can do is, sometimes is put in that hope. But I guess that's, every day is a different day. Sometimes you have optimism in people. Sometimes you can, look for the hope in something to happen, or, even wishful thinking in that regard. And I think that, lives with inside what we've talked about in other podcasts with the, positive reinforcement and everything. Because those random acts of kindness, are something that we obviously strive to do, on a continual basis. Just because that's how it's been, how should I say, like hardwired almost. It's now becoming something where that makes sense to do. Yeah, hell yeah. Like, let's see, what do you call it? The last random thing I did. Oh wait, no, I didn't want to talk about it because again, then I keep blowing my opportunity.
Listen,
don't do it. Hook it away.
I told my one story about that nice old man. That's it. and I don't even consider it a random act of kindness. It's just something that happened.
Yeah, no,
was a-
absolutely. Well,
was
that's
a
a
nice
cool thing
something.
too, because it's just also an experience. Those
Yeah,
things, they might not even have to be kindnesses. It could just be an experience, that you fell into, and you're like, wow, that was really cool. Or, maybe you learned something. And I think that's the other cool thing too, that if, you end up talking to someone that you didn't expect to talk to, or you did something for someone you didn't expect to do, there's sometimes there's random rewards, and I'm not talking about financial rewards, but I'm talking about relationship rewards, sometimes financial rewards. Who knows? Maybe you get a couple bucks back. Oh, you found my wallet.
yeah,
Whoa. But then, of course, the other things, being able to, that dopamine hit too, that satisfaction of fulfilling like goals and stuff like that. You'll
yeah,
get that as well for, being able to execute something like that. Because there's not always good people out there. Like Ian said, there's always going to be that douchebag that is just wow, just really going hard, and you just
yeah.
sometimes
Like
have to coexist with those people.
you just want to take
Um,
his skull and go
and those,
just a little bit.
those moments take a lot of patience to be able to get through. And if you can, withhold all of your worst random acts of evil, then you'll be the better person in the big battle of things. That's the name of the game. And that's everyone every day. You gotta pick and choose your battles, unfortunately.
Peace, love, and positivity, baby. That's what. Who is that? Logic. Logic preaches that heavily.
Absolutely. And
Um,
he, as at the same time of him talking about being a black white baby or whatever, he's funny, dude.
but I mean, it's the truth though. Peace, love, and positivity. No one wants to be fighting. Um, no one wants to be mean all the time. There are people out there that want to be mean all the time, but it's
Dude, I've met some people that want to be mean. Come on, there's people that are
yeah.
like, being mean is so much easier than being nice.
I've
God,
I've met so many mean people, and it doesn't make sense to me. It's like of course, I think we've all had our spots where we're like heavily mean. Um, the majority of the time, at least for me, it's like I've regretted being like that. It doesn't feel great, and it makes you look like a d-bag. So I don't know how people do it day in and day out. They're just miserable people. They must be. Um, it's because there's no reward from it. You don't get anything from that other than people hating you. Pretty much. It's like no one's gonna want to be around you if you're mean all the time. I don't
well,
think anyone.
it's funny because there's sometimes when those circumstances exist that not that you have to be mean, but there's times where you have to be stern, stand your ground, battle your side of the argument, and never to like prove you're right, or maybe just because you feel like being an asshole that day. But there's definitely certain circumstances where it's sticking up for yourself and being, we'll say in this case, mean, not only pays off, but shows that you have resolve too. Um, and it's a very fine line of being able to be an angry, mean person, being effectively mean, and I think uh, being able to battle on that line and be able to, pick which boundaries you can cross and which ones are crossable, and then see those other boundaries that are like, okay, that's, this is not the time of day for that type of thing, is definitely, it's hard to do. I was going to say superpower, but it's not necessarily even that. It's you being able to, maintain a type of self control and discipline in how you carry yourself. So, like you said, like obviously, Gary Vee is a big, purporter of this, kindness first and putting your best out into the world. But you also have to, think on the opposite end of things where, not go into every situation on your heels and just, preaching kindness. Sometimes there has to be actionable steps that come across, mean and stern, that, may not be how you're trying to get it across, but it just needs to be done a certain way. And you sometimes can't worry about what people think, and if it's the right thing to do and you're doing it to, protect your own rights or hell, even protect your family in some cases, there are those cases where kindness will not win out, sad to say, but that's, it's very circumstantial, but I don't know. What do you think?
I think that's like within just reasoning. If kindness does not work, then if kindness doesn't work, then it's not necessarily anger or in any way resentment. I think it's more or less like, I think of it as like fight or flight kind of thing. If you're able to avoid the situation to protect yourself, in extreme scenarios here, of course, it's either get out of the situation or confront the situation. And so let's take it down to a smaller notch of maybe what I think you're going for is like, let's say for instance, like you're good friends with your boss, right?
Sure.
He still needs to lay his foot down with you every once in a while if you're slacking off.
Right,
And it's
because
not,
yes, exactly. Being able to differentiate the grounds between being your boss and then being your friend. Absolutely, yes, yeah, that's a good example.
So it's like, of course, he needs to confront you every now and again. Maybe you did something wrong. Maybe you're not doing your job right now, and it's kind of like, hey, let's get back to work. Come on, like, stop slacking, kind of thing. And these are like very minute scenarios, but
And
it's
that even
that
happened with
it's
Josh too. Absolutely, because we got to the point where we could mess around with Josh and be funny with him, and then having him as our boss, same thing where it was like, all right, now you guys understand that now we have to get serious again, that type of thing, but doing it in a way that conveyed just that without being a jackass, just being understanding and in that light,
yeah, no, I mean, because for the two of us, we experienced Josh as a man of the crew, and then he grew to a higher position than that. So it's like now he's really in a position where he needs to keep us in check rather than kind of joke around and do nothing kind of thing.
Yeah, and that goes without saying. And I think everyone has their own experience with that exact thing. Because in reality, everyone has some type of figurehead in their life, whether or not it's a boss, or someone they just work alongside of, or maybe even they work for themselves, and they have to be able to, decide what times of day that they can, slack off and do their own thing, or when they need to get really serious and focus in on something. So, I mean, and it all comes different.
My God, I look tired as hell. Welcome back.
Thank you, thank you. Hopefully everyone heard my excitement about working for people who you love while also simultaneously hating them.
Yeah, we got a good majority. We heard you go, oh, and
Yeah,
then you disappeared.
My lovely recording app that I'm in decided to refresh on my end. But here we are, yet again, talking to you lovely, beautiful people. And only for another couple minutes, because we're almost up here for our lovely hour. So thanks for coming regardless.
Well,
but to finish my side quest note about
being
friendly with your bosses and managers and other figureheads in your life, it is, a tough path to follow, only because, there's certain things that you could obviously talk about and be cool with when you're on the job, having to take it seriously and, do your job first. And then among the other moments when you're just effing off and kind of thinking about this, that, and the other, that has nothing to do with work, doing that with your boss or your figureheads and your managers and stuff like that. It's cool to be able to have those relationships, but it's also not cool, right, at the same time, because there's sometimes those moments where it's hard to tell if, that moment is okay, time to turn off serious mode and go into funny mode, or vice versa. And those situations are also, just as fun, because it's like, okay, pushing the buttons. Oh, too far. And then it's like, in that moment where you knew you pushed it a little too far or you messed up, you hear about it and you know what's up. But being able to be friends with those people is cool, because they get it. They're in those positions and they've been on the flip side that you've been in. But it's, again, one of those things where kindness won't always win out. But using it firsthand, in our, Ian and I scenario, has yielded us a lot of fruit and success. That's for sure.
And I think we've beat the dead horse plenty at this point. I think we've kind of encapsulated the entirety of what we wanted to kind of cover with this. And I think we broke into a good discussion about halfway through. I think we really took it in the direction that we didn't expect it to go. So, I just want to say thank you guys so much for tuning in today, and we hope you enjoyed the episode. As always, check us out over on YouTube. And if you're listening on YouTube, check us out over on Spotify. Give us a follow over there for a little on-the-go listening, a little bit easier. Unless you have YouTube Music, then you can... I think any type of YouTube subscription, you could watch videos on the go and close your phone and such.
Yes, sir.
So whichever you want to do, whichever works for you, we got those as always.
As always.
Yeah. So thank you guys again for tuning in. Leave a like, leave a comment, give us a little subscribe. That'd be appreciated. If not, well, all right.
Skip it.
But on that note, we'll catch you guys on the flippy flop. So until next time, peace.